I should have coughed 5 seconds earlier. That was just irresistible. Then cough to say hello. We're live. Now I've just got to set my chat up, and we'll all be rocking and rolling. I'm thinking like I'm like a minute late, but that's an acceptable thing. Oh, who are the early arrivals? Luke, Fox of Fate, Megaleech, Charlie, Brett, Musical Aviator, YouTube. I'm going to do something with eggs, definitely. Mystery 09, Miss Foxification, Patman Spot. Oh, all the gang's all here. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. I just got to do the pop the chat out so I can see it more easily. And it will be all action stations at that point, which is, something for it. My God, this laptop is so slow. Anyway, let's get that happening. Hey, Noble Wolf. We don't want talk chat. We want live chat. What the fuck is this? Oh my God, I've got the surveillance device on. What word did I don't know. There's some word I said that made the Google search on my phone. That was weird. And hi, Belinda and Shirazi. Shirazi went to Anning's office with a carton of eggs and they refused to take them. Patman, how's AD? AD's not well. I did get a message from him today. Apparently, the first search result from that rambling I just did that included "What the fuck is this?" sent me to the Wikipedia entry for "Fuck It, I Don't Want You Back," debut single for American singer-songwriter Eamon. There you go. That was weird. I've never had it do that before. Ninja Day Lunchbox, hello in Vegas. And Lion Spider having dinner. Nice. And hello, Catherine. I've had my dinner a bit earlier. I just come back from the physio, who said he actually saw more improvement than he was expecting. So that's a plus. My friggin' shoulder. Yeah, that's okay. That doesn't hurt because he's just been doing all the things that a physio does. Yes, I am old and my body's falling apart. You really got to choose between, which bits are the most fucked up that I wanted to work on in an appointment. Up until recently, it was my knees, because my knees were fucking crippling me. And they got a bit better, and then some weird shit happened with my hip. But because I got onto that straight away, he fixed that. And yeah, then last week, decided my shoulder was hurting more than my knees, so I'm getting my shoulder worked on at the moment. But I mean, my knees are still not great. Nintendo Lunchbox, watch the R. Kelly documentary. Yeah, imagine that's an unsettling experience. The decades of abuse R. Kelly got away with. He's in custody at the moment, isn't he? Or is he out on bail? Because there's a thing at one point that he couldn't afford bail. But yeah, he just got away with so much shit. Like, it's not even like, Michael Jackson still has defenders saying things like, oh, the people accusing him said before that he didn't do anything, and people who deal with sexual abuse will tell you why someone might do that. But yeah, anyone who's defending R. Kelly is a piece of shit. Big Boy, I've seen a few by remix of it. Well, what are we saying? Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we were talking about Egg Boy. There's some very funny memes and video mashups of Egg Boy. That is ridiculous. But yes, good old Fraser Anning. It's almost as if he's done the LNP a huge favor of being so overtly and blatantly racist. They can point at him and say, "Oh, isn't he bad? He's bad. That man's bad." You know, while implying that they're not bad. I think, am I looking more wash? Is this because it's dark now? We're at the time of year when it's going to be dark when I'm doing it. Hey, Sean, how you doing? Don't know if it's a good idea to have a light behind me. YouTube, Anning's going to be followed by the stink of eggs for the rest of his miserable days, which hopefully aren't long. I mean, it's just like seriously, like those fucking thugs who assaulted Egg Boy. If you took their shirts off, you would have seen a few swastika tattoos. I'm not even joking. People say, like, you just call everyone a Nazi. And go, no, at this point, I'm limiting it to the ones who have Nazi insignia tattoos and worship Hitler. So, yeah. Sorry, Blind Spider. Used the Anning supporter banner to make a meme saying Hitler supports Anning and you got suspended for 3 days. Oh, you spend so much time in like Facebook jail and Twitter jail, I think. Yes, Belinda, Anning is absolute garbage. But yeah, again, because he only got his time in the Senate. Well, no one actually voted for him. So it's just the way the votes get distributed down the line. And he doesn't have anyone else feeding votes to him anymore. So he shall be a thing of the past. Shirasi, no, some of them have swastikas. I've seen them at rallies. But that's also why I said Nazi insignia after saying swastikas. Yeah. Oh, Fox of Fate. The sad fuck-ups of Anning are hilarious. Like, you know, 2 racist for 1 nation. He's going independent. And then he strikes a deal with Bob Catter. Bob Catter saying, Fraser's great. And then Anning did that disgusting final solution speech. And it wasn't an accident. It wasn't an unfortunate turn of phrase, as his apologist said. He's a fucking Nazi. He chose the words deliberately. And Bob Catter still defended him after that speech. But then he kept saying shit. And even Bob Catter went, no, you're actually too racist for me. Yes, Musically Aviator. Anning's a fuckwit. Yes, Miss Foxification, the Black Sun. Oh my God, someone showed there's a, they saw, this was in Christchurch, a trades van with something about white pride on a bumper sticker. And so they called or emailed the company and said, one of your tradies is going around with white supremacist sticker on your work van, and they replied with something like, you know, our white brother has our full support, and they were like, what the fuck? And then they looked at the logo for this company as the Nazi black sun symbols. Like, oh, okay, fuck me. Linda, I did not see the Sunrise interview. I saw a summary of it, And Koshy may have been on point, but Koshy is a hypocritical sack of shit. Koshy paid money to Pauline Hanson to come on the show and spout her racist shit. When Koshy's saying to her, this guy's manifesto sounds like the One Nation policy statement, don't you feel responsible? Why the fuck hold him to the fire and say, well, you gave One Nation a platform when they didn't deserve one. Don't you hold some responsibility, you fucking wanker? Too fucking little, too fucking late. Patman, would I run for Parliament? Not really. I mean, there is that funny shit where, you know, it appears absurdly easy to get into the Senate. But I don't know that I'd do that to my family, really. Yeah, politics is just so shitty. Oh, nice turn of phrase, Florian. And his Twitter feed, he says about criminal immigrants invading Australia. That does seem about 200 years late, doesn't it? There was this serious wave of criminal immigrants that lasted 100 years or so. YouTube, okay, little bugbear of mine, nobody runs for Prime Minister. People run for Parliament, and the party with the majority makes their leader the Prime Minister. Nobody runs for Prime Minister. No one outside of the parliamentary parties votes for Prime Minister. It's just a little bugbear of mine. I understand the thought people have, like, oh, the Prime Minister is a figurehead, and the Prime Minister does, to a varying degree, depending on the strength of that Prime Minister and the ideology of the party, the Prime Minister does get to be the dominant voice in driving policy, although the Prime Minister will have a hard time if they act unilaterally against the wishes of their party. Yes, nobody runs for Prime Minister. No one, the public don't vote for Prime Minister. YouTube, I could not be in a political party because they all do shit I don't like. If I was to run, it would be as an independent, you know, the angry party. Yes, where I would just have lots of shouty press conferences where I call people on their bullshit. And I guess this would be the funny thing. People say, can you say anything good about Trump? And I go, well, Trump certainly elevated not given a fuck to a whole new level. Like, he's guilty of dozens of things that should have ended his career, but he is literally shameless and he doesn't care. Oh, no, Shrazi, Angry Anderson's a horrible, racist little cunt. He is a hideous little racist piece of shit. Yes, I know we share that nickname, but he is racist garbage. He's Pauline Hanson fan. He's probably a fucking Fraser Anning fan, more so now. So no, I shan't be associating with Angry Anderson. He's been a prick for decades. Oh yeah, they're going to censure Anning, but that's meaningless. And I know it was kind of funny that, you know, there's a what do you call it? Online petition with over 1 million people saying Fraser Anning should be thrown out of the Senate. There's no real grounds for that. It's not how life in the Senate works, but I guess people felt better. I think it's kind of nice that Fraser Anning gets the message of how much people fucking hate him. Belinda, who's worse? Fraser Anning is worse than Pauline Hanson. I mean, but that's like, what's worse, getting my fingers slammed in a car door or getting my dick slammed in a car door? They're both horrible, and they're both to be avoided. But yes, I can actually pick between them of which is worse, and Fraser Anning is worse. Oh, David, Morrison trying to look like you. God, people just need to call Morrison on his bullshit. Like the weirdest thing with him, his office threatening to sue what's his name from the project for saying he didn't mention him by name, but it's clear he was talking about Morrison, because it was reported in the media a couple of years ago that in the party room, Morrison was actively saying, oh no, this anti-Muslim stuff is working for us, we should ramp it up. And of course his defenders say no, he didn't say that, but the anonymous sources, who we know are Malcolm Turnbull and Julie Bishop, say yes, he fucking did. Didn't hint, didn't use dog whistle. He straight up said, "Oh, the anti-Muslim stuff is working for us. We should get right on that." It's like, yeah, it's really. Oh, the funny one. Do you think, David, the way the libs with all their dog whistling are now trying to say, no, we think the hate speech is bad, just because we've been actively abetting it for decades since John Howard. We think the hate speech is bad. The only people funnier and more pathetic than the Liberal Party doing that are the online right-wing provocateurs who really stridently trying to distance themselves from the Christchurch terrorist, who is directly and explicitly inspired by it. So this is the thing. Then all those people who have been demonizing Muslims, saying they're not human, saying they have to be gotten rid of, saying you have to ban them, they can't be that stuff, and calling the neo-Nazis very fine people. The message is quite clear, and it's just ridiculous that they expect anyone to take them seriously. See, this is the same deal. Like, you say I can't blame all Muslims. No, and I'm not blaming all people who don't like religion or don't like the religion of Islam. I'm blaming the people who propagate hate speech. Same as any sort of Muslim hate preacher. Look, they don't have to put the gun in a fucking terrorist's hand. They don't have to strap the bomb to a terrorist. If they're in their position of influence talking about the evil West and how it must be overthrown and a caliphate should rise, and twisting the mind of angry, alienated young men with talk of the glory of martyrdom and the paradise that awaits them. They don't have to put the gun in the terrorist's hands. They don't have to give them the bomb. They're the inspiration for it, and they are guilty. And the same as all these fucking right-wing hate mongers in the media and online, they do bear direct responsibility for a series of terrorist attacks by white nationalists. The Christchurch one's just the worst recent one. There's Anders Breivik was worse, but in North America, right-wing, and some have happened in Canada, mostly they've been in the US, but that's why I say in North America, right-wing, white supremacist, misogynist terrorists have targeted women, black Christians, Muslims, Jews, gay people for mass murder in terrorist attacks. In the US, you are at far higher risk of being killed by a far-right white supremacist terrorist than you are by a Muslim terrorist. That's simple reality. Have I ever been on 4chan YouTube? Yeah, not for ages though. There was a wild old blog TV stream from God, it was probably about 8 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, I don't remember. But we did it. We were a running joke about you know, must not fap, and I was doing these jokes about holding my hand, and one of the people started up a 4chan thread, and so everyone in the live stream was making memes of me and must not fap. Hey Lily, how you going? YouTube, I don't think I've been on 8chan, or they like to call it infinite chan, don't they? I might have done to check it out at one point, but I'm not that interested. There was a period where I kept much closer eye on those sort of people, including the neo-Nazi groups like Stormfront, because they were talking about me. This is in the early days of YouTube. I did some anti-Nazi videos when, you know, they weren't in positions of power, and they didn't seem as dangerous. And then someone, tipped me off. There was a thread on the Stormfront message boards about me, so I joined the Stormfront message boards to keep an eye on what they were saying, and it soon became clear how pathetic most of them. There was a whole comment thread on just liking curry make me a race traitor. I think they were serious. I don't. This stuff gets so stupid that you can't tell what's a joke and what's. I got everything had child porn on it, David. There was bloody child porn hidden on Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and YouTube. Reddit was very open with it for a while, and 4chan and 8chan were very open with it for a while, but there's been a bit of a clampdown on that. Lily, no, I'm a Dutton hater, very vocal, very often about what a piece of shit Peter Dutton is. And I'm so looking for, I feel very strongly he's going to lose his seat in the next election, and that will be cause for celebration. Yeah, music better. I like actual potatoes, not the human racist potato from Queensland. Oh God, that just reminds me of another thing the fucking right-wing bigots say, taunting Muslims. Their tendency to say Allahu Akbar, and it's like, yeah, dude, you just said potatoes are great. And yeah, Liam, potatoes are great. Mashed potato, chips, baked potato. Potato's awesome. What you meant to say is Allahu Akbar. It's like, but apparently that is a source of some considerable mirth for a lot of Arabic speakers when the bigots say Allahu Akbar, and they just go, yeah, potatoes are pretty good. I like potatoes. David, is the internet good or bad? 50-50. Well, as I've often said, I think the internet's greatest strength, the best thing about the internet, is also the worst thing about the internet. The best thing about the internet is you're never alone. I mean, I grew up in a country town in the middle of fucking nowhere, right? And it's before the internet, before cable TV, before we had one commercial channel and the ABC for TV, and like Radio National, local ABC radio, and the local top 40 station. So if you fell outside of incredibly narrow parameters, you were just isolated and alienated, and you feel completely alone. And this is as a straight white guy, I felt alone and alienated. Imagine if you're outside of that parameter, if you're queer, a woman, not white, how alienated you are in that environment. You feel so alone. With the internet, you never have to feel alone. You can always find like-minded people. Unfortunately, with the internet, you never feel alone. And this is no matter how big fuckwit you are, no matter how detached from reality you are, the people who actively and truly believe there are a subterranean race of lizards that actually run the world and all the world leaders are shape-shifting lizards, they get people who tell them, yep, you're absolutely right. That's absolutely true. So yeah, I think the best thing about the internet, you're never alone, is also the worst thing about the internet, you never know. Because honestly, some people need to not have their ridiculous bullshit reinforced. They need to not have people say, yes, you're okay. Now we're linking Dutton to hash browns. Well, I think Dutton and Anning should team up. Hash brown and eggs. Hash brown and eggs, that's perfect. Lois Butter, I think Tony is a lizard. Yeah. YouTube, what's that? Brenton Tarrant traveled to Turkey, Pakistan, and India, Japan, and Europe. Oh, sorry, that's the fucking... I've been making a point of not remembering his name. That's the white supremacist terrorist. Dude, now you're talking ridiculous fucking horseshit, quite honestly. He's a straight up and down right-wing white supremacist. There's no surprises. There's no twists. There's no thickening plot. He's a cunt. He's obvious. He's fucking vermin, and he's part of a bigger problem. Oh, David, you're in a country town in Tasmania. Yeah, I see Tasmania. That's a double isolation thing. You're in the island down there, and if you're in an isolated part of the island, that's double isolation. Oh, was it? There was a doco about Uber. No, I missed that. But Uber is a shit company. Now, that's not dumping on the people who drive for Uber, although there are issues there as well. Uber, the company, is a shit company run by shit people doing shit things. Yeah, no, Uber is just absolute garbage. I refuse to ever use Uber because it's a shit company doing shit things. It was run by shit people, and yeah, no, they're fucked basically. Nintendo Lunchbox, they get you across town for $8 by fucking over the person driving you. Basically, and I'm not holding you responsible for that, but Uber is a fucking horrible company run by fucking horrible people that is ultimately doing damage to everyone except themselves. YouTube, don't overthink it. Don't invent bullshit complications where there are none. There are no complications. This cunt is a straight up, obvious, black and white supremacist piece of shit. He's just garbage. Anything else is bullshit. Like that musical aviator. Yeah, trams get you across town for $0 unless there's ticket inspectors. Oh, Florian, I'm completely with New Zealand Prime Minister refusing to mention the fucking piece of shit's name. Again, these fucking pieces of garbage, they want to go down in history. So don't. I mean, well, you know, Egg Boy is awesome, and I refuse to stop celebrating Egg Boy. But I mean, with the actual horrible terrorist attack in Christchurch, I'm looking at, is the guy, the hero of it was Abdul Aziz, an Afghani Australian. I think he was born in Afghanistan. I think he's an Australian citizen, or he was come to Australia as a refugee. You know, he fucking ran at the guy. I can't even process that. This guy's just fucking killed all these people, and the dudes just chased him off. The balls on that man. And it just, to him, it was just a thing to do. So that's the guy that I want to go down in history. Egg Boy's awesome, and I'm going to continue to fucking big ups to Egg Boy, mainly because he just took the wind out of numpty 19 votes and just made a fool of him and just made a mockery of him. But yeah, remember the name Abdul Aziz. He's the one who deserves to go down in history. That guy's fucking amazing. Oh yeah, clearly Morrison is in fact boring. We'll be done with him soon. I think the election's going to be in May. I don't think it can't be, if I understand correctly, and I have looked this up, can't be later than May. But now I also think, because of a range of other things, it isn't going to be earlier than May. The New South Wales election is really soon. Maybe even next weekend. 23rd March, this Saturday, the New South Wales election. That will be interesting. Last I heard, the polls had it like 50-50. Like, the most likely outcome is no party would have a majority. Look, anything, when it's that close, anything could happen. You could get a surprise. One party could get many more votes than people were expecting. Although we could be in that situation that no one has a majority and they have to strike some sort of deal with independents on the crossbench to support them as a government. So who knows? It's all up in the air in New South Wales. Anything could happen. Government not swamped by election campaigns yet. The federal election campaign is going to ramp up really soon because we're basically approaching 0 hour. It's got to be announced in the next month. No, Belinda, our elections are always on a Saturday. You're correct. Won't be on the 23rd of May. Our elections are always on a Saturday. So we shall see. Shirasi, yes, Latham is a shithead. Absolutely. Yes, and Latham is also typical of those cowards who get super defensive when you call them out on their bigotry, which is absolutely bizarre. YouTube, you're not maybe wrong. You are categorically 100% wrong. Nothing about him is about Islamic State. That is absolutely 100% utter fucking horseshit. He's a white supremacist. He's a cunt. He's absolutely cut and dried. There's no surprises. There's no depth. There's no twists. He's a piece of fucking shit, and he's a white supremacist, and that's what motivated him. It's that simple. There's no hidden depth. There's no surprises. He's fucking shit. And you also cannot believe anything he says ever, because he's gone so deeply into that ironic meme bullshit that you can see the whole thing to that absolute piece of shit. It's all a wind up. It's all a wind up. He's done so much fucking 4chan meme shit. The whole thing is, you know, up to and including, you know, subscribe to PewDiePie. You cannot believe anything that guy says. You don't need to listen to anything the fucking vermin says, because it's absolutely clear who and what he is. Okay, we're not going to overreact yet, people. Shirazi, you are probably right about those dates. I reckon you're right. Those are the two most like Rad Scorpion. I think PewDiePie is complicit to the extent that he absolutely endorses that alt-right bullshit. There is no question whatsoever. PewDiePie is absolutely on board with that alt-right bullshit. And anyone who says otherwise is either a fool or is just covering for PewDiePie. It's obvious PewDiePie is part of that sort of, you know, like, ooh, yeah, I'm an edgy shitlord. But he's absolutely on board with supporting those alt-right fuckheads, giving oxygen to them, and he's part of that whole edgy shitlord crap. You know, it's oh gee, Shirazi, I don't think JonTron skirts around the edges, does he? He says straight up crazy bigoted shit. Oh, sorry, YouTube. That's the fun one. Avi Yemeni, little Avi. He's a far-right Zionist. Served with the Israeli military, but he's so aggressively anti-Islam that he was teaming up with the white supremacists who are riddled with Nazis. And it's hilarious, but there are a couple of people who are basically undercover in all these chat groups with these right-wing nutters, and they've uncovered, it's really funny in these ultra-rightists, they think little Avi helps them. You know, he gives them some cover because he's Jewish, but they have all these group chats where they're just full on anti-Semitic and how much they hate the guy and they want to get rid of him because he's Jewish. It's so bizarre. That thing that ultra-right Zionists do will team up with and accept support from people who actually hate them because they just want support. Like American evangelicals being pathologically pro-Israel, even though they're really anti-Semitic. That's because of this weird apocalypse cult in the evangelicals. And according to their reading of the book of Revelations, Israel has to exist for Armageddon to come, for the end of days and the glory of God's kingdom. So they support Israel only because Israel gets destroyed in the end days. It's absolutely surreal. And the ultra-right Zionists are completely okay with accepting support from people who actually hate them. It's like, it's absolutely surreal. Oh God, enjoy the struggle. Your uncle's become an alt-right and you're going to have to see him at your mum's birthday party. Oh, dude, that would suck. Safa, good evening to you. MGTOW, see, that's the fucking question, man. How can you be pro-Israel and anti-Semitic? As I said, it's tied up in their Armageddon fantasies. Their reading of the book of Revelations is that Israel has to exist for the end of days to come about. And so they support the state of Israel. And because, okay, the evangelicals hate Muslims and the Zionists hate Muslims. And so they've got that in common. The evangelicals also hate Jews. And but they overlook that because for them, the state of Israel has to exist for the end of days to come about. It's absolutely fucking real. Shirazi, you are right. Technically, Semitic is just from the part of the world you come from, and you are right. Palestinians are Semitic. It's all very complicated. But yeah, the ultra-right Zionists don't like anyone who's got too much of a tan, basically. Safa, well, there is a summary. There are people in every religion who hate every other religion. There are obviously a lot of people in every religion who adhere to the positive parts of their religion and are quite tolerant to other people, even if they think technically they're unbelievers and whatnot. But yeah, there are definitely people in religions who hate all other. That's a good word for them, Shirazi. Rapturists. They want the rapture. They believe literally in the descriptions of the Book of Revelation. Bad movies based on that horseshit. There's that was done for the Christian channels in the US. What was the series called? There were the books that were quite popular with the rapture crowd. Was it called Tribulation Squad or something? Left Behind. That's it, Luke. The Left Behind things. Yes, because there's a particular brand of these Armageddon cultists, the rapture crowd. They believe it goes in stages. There's the absolute best people who, in the rapture, they get lifted bodily to heaven. But there's a time of tribulation on earth where the Antichrist is rising to power. And there are people who are still good-ish who can earn salvation and go off to heaven, but they're stuck on earth in the tribulation fighting with the Antichrist. And yeah, there are a bunch of terrible fucking movies made of it. They're almost worth watching for laugh value. Self-rating punk is probably up. So I just saw someone say, St. Patrick's Day, we're all Irish. I decided, because we've been doing the thing where I do make a cocktail in the second half. And look, I've got Jameson's up there, Irish whiskey, which I got for St. Patrick's Day. That's an interesting thought, Megaleech. If the rapturists get lifted bodily up in the rapture, is one of them going to headbutt Elon's Tesla, which is out there in orbit somewhere? Safa, did I get drunk on Sunday? I didn't really. Might have had a few drinks on Friday night. Might have a few drinks on Saturday night. But I decided I was going to make an Irish whiskey drink and something with an egg in it to celebrate numpty 19 votes getting egged. And I think I found one. Because again, for me, when I've been talking in the various live streams about cocktails, egg white cocktails, they go fluffy. They're often called a fizz, or like a whiskey sour has egg white in it. If you have an egg yolk or a whole egg in it, that's usually called a flip. This one called a Gaelic flip that I might do a version of. Allspice. What I think I might be able to use absinthe as a substitute for it's basically Irish whiskey, vermouth, allspice, simple syrup, and an egg, a whole egg. Belinda, yes, I posted a picture of the Egg Boy mural. I went down and got a picture of it. I'm just going to look up substitute for allspice liqueur substitute. See what it says. Allspice berries, allspice dram. Okay, allspice is a berry, and pimento. God, I'm trying to find a substitute. Substitute for cocktail ingredients you don't have. That's what we want. wonder if I have something that I could put in place of all. Okay, I'm just going to do my own thing. So I've got the Irish whiskey, absinthe. Okay, we've got to think of another ingredient that either sums up Egg Boy or Numpty 19 votes. Good Spirit, good evening to you. It's early morning for you, is it? I've been well, thank you. Miss Foxification, I don't have any cloves. I do have some herbs and stuff. I think I'm going to do something completely. You know what was a winner for me? I am going to use my absinthe vermouth and the cherry hearing liqueur. After I'd love to replace Bill Shorten with Jacinta Ardern. Bill Shorten is so uninspiring. I love my North American viewers with insomnia. It's 3 a.m. in Vegas where Nintendo Lunchbox is. Oh, Figo Sealer, hello, how are you doing? It's like I'm kind of worried. Jacinta Ardern has seemed really good. He's waiting for something terrible to be revealed about it. Kind of like, you know, everyone thought Justin Trudeau was cool, but there's a really full-on corruption scandal engulfing him at the moment. And it's not just like his opposition throwing shit at him. It looks really bad. Like he looks corrupt as fuck. Chronic at 6 a.m. where you are. Dr. Obama, Michael Daly's comments. You're going to have to first remind me who Michael Daly is, and then what are his comments? Oh, yeah, Dave, no, I'm 100% behind Labor at the upcoming federal election, but Bill Shorten is being such a fucking wimp. And the thing is, he's capable of being inspiring. He's made good speeches. So I'm just holding out hope. I'm holding out hope that he's just being a wuss in oh my god, it fucking listen to me again. And okay, what the fuck is making you look up my words? I don't know, every now and then it's just like I'm not telling it to, and it's doing a Google search based on what I'm saying, which is really disconcerting. Okay, he's the New South Wales opposition leader. What did he say? Oh, Miss Foxification, it's not, okay, I don't object to Shorten being bland. I object to Shorten not taking a stand on anything. I object to Shorten deliberately doing nothing more than, I'm not that guy. I object to that strongly. I also don't think he deserves to be the Labor leader, but he is. I think he's shown the capability to be inspired. I'm just hoping that the whole don't say anything much at all is just until the election, and when they're in power, they put some good policies in. Good Spirit, saving the cash for your bus for your time. Oh, yeah! You told me about the tiny home. I fucking love that. Yes, I definitely want to hear how that progresses. Oh, okay, spiced fortified rum. I do have some spiced rum. Okay. So Michael Saley said something. Oh yeah, no, I did hear that. I did hear that. He was doing a little bit of pandering about Asians taking jobs. Yes, I don't know the context, and I honestly haven't been paying that much attention to the New South Wales election. So we'll see what happens there. So look, okay, we're at the halfway. Spiced rum was the tip off. So all spiced liqueurs. I think that's meant to be stronger than spice. Okay, but I'm going to make my own here. Okay, a variation on the Gaelic flip. Yeah, the egg boy flip. Did you tell if I still enjoy Bill? I grew up listening to Bill Cosby stand-up. My dad had at least 2 or 3 Bill Cosby comedy albums. I listened to his routines so many times growing up. Chronic, the New Zealand, oh, you mean the terrorist attack? Oh, we did talk about that, man. Fucking horror. You know, I did the maths. Like, one of the many reasons that terrorist attack in New Zealand was so fucking horrific and jarring. In terms of the percentage of population, 50 people be killed in a terrorist attack in Christchurch is like more than 100,000 people being killed in a terrorist attack on New York. Like, that's how small Christchurch is. That's how jarring and alien it is. It's absolutely horrific. Highlight spider. See. All right, so I'm going to invent a drink. We'll just call it the egg boy flip. I just have to get some bits and pieces. So I'm going to go off camera for a little bit. Get my tiki mug, because that's my favorite mug. Ah, I need a cocktail shaker. Okay. Cocktail shaker. Get an egg. Gotta get an egg. Ah. That there. Here. Okay. 1 egg. Put the egg there, don't go anywhere, egg. It's got a smile on its face. That's what we like. I am going to put this. No, not that. This. This. I think I'm going to put this in because that worked with another one. This is a real experiment we're doing here. The Jamesons, this. Oh, just double check the recipe. Irish whiskey, vermouth, allspice, simple syrup, and egg. Okay, that's everything. Let's do it. Okay, so Dr. Obama, where's Mimsy? That's a good question. She's hiding somewhere. Okay, egg. Egg. Let's go. Oh, a syrup. Wait, where's my this thing? All right. Okay. So some simple syrup. Put that in. Fairly right. Yeah, the New Zealand government seems to want to follow Australia's result after Port Arthur. I might take, I should say 1 ounce vermouth. I think I want to put that much in. I'm going to put ½ an ounce of the absinthe vermouth. Belinda, I'm sorry, you're going to end up with Anning back in Queensland. No way around it. Absinthe infused vermouth. And a little bit of cherry liqueur. This is the surprise packet in here. Don't know what this is going to do to the flavor, but we're creating here. Belinda, he's not. Look, he's not representative to the degree he could get elected in his own right. He is unfortunately representative of a certain number of people. So if you're saying he got banned in Victoria, I don't know what that means. How was he banned? I've got to give this a good shake because there's a whole egg in there. Make sure it really mixes up. Yeah, I think there's not much chance of Anning getting back in the Senate after this election. Are you wanting to be banned, Sapa? YouTube Eau de Vie in Melbourne. I don't think I know of which you speak. I've got a couple of places I like in the city. My favorite's probably Bar Americano. Just this really little place that you can only fit about a dozen people in. Makes me sound like a real hipster wanker saying I like this place that can only fit in a dozen people. I forgot I need some ice. I've got to get my big block of ice. Not messing about. The big block of ice is very big. Well, kids at home. Put it next to my head. It's a pretty big block of ice. Yeah, David, you are unfortunately right, I think. Our gun, oh my God. I didn't break the egg yolk. No, that's not good. I got to shake it some more. The egg yolk's still whole. That's grossing me out. Okay. I have a fork here. I'm just going to break the egg yolk. Okay. So I did get a bit of a drink on my thumb, and it tastes quite nice. That's what you make a leech. You have to know how big my head is to know how big that ice cube is. My absurdly large head. All right, I think this is better. I broke the egg yolk. Now I've shaken up. All right. Ooh, that is not that appealing a color, quite honestly. I got to say, in terms of aesthetics, that kind of looks like pond water. I've got to be honest. Oh my God, it tastes pretty good though. Oh God, I see we're talking about the death penalty. Look, my mind, the death penalty doesn't work. It isn't a deterrent, and it gets badly misapplied. You only have to look at places that have the death penalty, like America, and you see it's disproportionately and wrongly applied to minorities. Yeah, no, I'm not a supporter of the death penalty. I completely understand the idea of really wanting revenge on someone, but the death penalty is a big thing. Ms. Hawkshash, you're talking about sending the military instead of the police. Again, the military, I think someone already said in there, the military don't have rapid response capability. And there are all sorts of problems with the military becoming your police. Actually, what's the line that Adama said in Battlestar Galactica? Adama quote police, because the military are meant to protect the population from foreign threats, and the police are meant to enforce laws locally. And if you cross those over, you get into an unfortunate, or you have the potential to get into an unfortunate situation. I'm just doing a search on the actual quote, and it makes me a bit of a nerd to want to look up a Battlestar Galactica quote. But I do love Battlestar Galactica. Adama says, there's a reason you separate military and the police. One fights enemies of the state, the other serves and protects the people. When the military becomes both, then the enemy of the state tends to become the people. And that's the risk that the military are meant to fight enemies of the state. Oh God, no, not Lorne Green Adama. Don't be ridiculous. Oh my God, that's really good. So this is the Egg Boy flip. I'm dedicating this to Egg Boy. So that's Irish whiskey, sugar syrup, vermouth. I got my absinthe laced vermouth, and cherry liqueur, and it's really good. Tendo, have you seen how much Captain Marvel made? I thought it was doing very well. Feely, you never watched the new Battlestar Galactica. Oh my God, it's so fucking good. And the thing is, because I rewatched it not that long ago, and if you watch it for the first time, or if you ever rewatch it, what you have to remember is when it gets to the point of the refugees having, they're under the Cylons. It's Cylon-occupied New Caprica, and insurgent humans try and strike back against the Cylons with tactics that include suicide bombings. What you need to remember when you watch that is that went to air in the middle of Bush's Iraq invasion. That is some of the gutsiest TV that has ever been made. That they had the humans, the heroes, being the people under occupation, and the tactics they were using to fight against their genocidal oppressors. That's fucking, for an American TV series, that is really full on. David, no, I never saw Caprica. Did they tell you how the Suns? There's a lot of they made some spin-off movies, Battlestar Galactica, that hint pretty strongly about the Cylons. Oh my God, Phil and Sita, I'm really disturbed that you have good memories of the old Battlestar Galactica. That was cheesy as fuck. I grew up with that. That's cheesy as fuck. One of the huge improvements the new Battlestar Galactica made over the original is the people in the new Battlestar Galactica are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and there's political struggles and whatnot. Whereas in Battlestar Galactica, you've got this tiny group of survivors of a genocide, and they're just tripping about having adventures. Nobody seems to suffer any ill effects from the fact that they're 1% of 1% of the population that's left. They actually deal with the repercussions. Absolutely full on new Battlestar Galactica. Yeah. So I agree. The difference between old and new Doctor Who, the new Doctor Who often deals with the consequences of the Doctor's actions. It's not just a fun adventure every week that goes on around. That really, it dwells on whenever the doctor gets involved in something, people start dying. Everyone around him dies. And that's something they really glossed over in the original Doctor Who series. The fact that every incidental character dies. And with the new ones, they really bring it front and center. The appearance of the Doctor means people are going to die. Shazi, Battlestar Galactica was originally sold as Wagon Train to the Stars. True, it was one of the countless Star Wars knockoffs. Oh, okay, David, that was the Caprica. Because I saw the occasional episode of bits of. Okay, it was a teenage girl. She was killed, but her consciousness was put into a robot. Right. Okay, that's where Cylons come from. The Lethal Weapon series. I've not seen any of the Lethal Weapon series. Good Spirit. There's so much TV that's worth watching, though. It's impossible to keep up with it. Safa, you're a big fan of Alita. I might see it at some point. Oh, wow. Dr. Obama, how to convert people from being right-wing anti-feminist rational. I don't know, man. I mean, apparently, some people get swayed by ContraPoints videos. I don't have the patience to do that shit, quite honestly. I mean, yeah, look, maybe I'd be more than willing to sit down and have a one-on-one with someone and just really talk through the issues. Like, well, why have you been seduced by this alt-right shit? But I really question whether it's worth the effort, quite honestly. But apparently, you know, some people are swayed by ContraPoints videos. She makes very good, well-constructed. Yeah, Foxfade, it's the mouthfeel. It's the mouthfeel that gets them on the ContraPoints videos, definitely. Good Spirit, Ukraine Allegiance is the best anime manga film to date. I'll have to watch it at some point. I did see someone ask, did I see Love, Death and Robots? I did. I enjoyed Love, Death and Robots. For those who don't know what it is, it's an anthology series Netflix released in the last week. It's animations about love, death, and robots. Most, but not all, of the animations feature robots. And you know, it's for mature audiences. Look, I enjoyed seeing the different styles of animation, and some of them are very good, but I couldn't get past a lot of it. Felt like they'd clearly been told by Netflix, you know, go for it. This is aimed at our mature audience. So there's a lot of, oh, this is a big boy animation. I'm wearing my big boy pants. So it's got lots of swears and nudity and really graphic violence. And it's like, yeah. So what I hope, because that first season of Love, Death and Robots is very strong, there are things that are problematic, as in sexist as fuck, in some of the episodes. Very, very typical nerd boy male gazy bullshit. But there's some very good stuff. What I hope is they do another season of it, and they've got this dumb shit out of their systems. Like, okay, yeah, we gave you free reign, so you could have lots of swears, like people calling other people cunts in the videos. You could have incredibly graphic violence, people getting torn apart, and you could have lots of nudity and sexy times. But how about now you've got that out of your system, you do content that's adult in the true sense of the word, and actually really challenge people with the content. Nintendo, that girl online, that's Caitlin Hill, isn't it? been buds with her since the early days of YouTube. She was one of the early YouTube stars, but she dipped right out of YouTube. Yes, Arthur, there is going to be a Lord of the Ring TV series. Don't know how long that's going to take to get up and running. Oh, yeah, Dr. Obama, you can change, and you've changed yourself. Used to be, you called yourself a fucking Nazi. Look, I would absolutely be willing to have a one-on-one talk with people. Mostly when I do stuff, when I do my political stuff, I'm just offering catharsis to people who basically agree with me, because I'm just saying, like, it isn't your imagination. This stuff is all bullshit. And we need to stand up and say, this is bullshit. So I'm really just offering that catharsis to people. Whereas apparently, yeah, ContraPoints has had some success with actually converting dues. So who knows? I don't know. Tindo, I had that rumor too that Amazon was actually dedicating more than $1 billion to the Lord of the Rings series. Look, that just shows how much money has been made from Game of Thrones. Because it's clearly because of the success of Game of Thrones that they're doing this Lord of the Rings TV series. Filler and Sealer, I hold out strong hope for the What We Do in the Shadows series. Did you see Wellington Paranormal? That was a series done by the What We Do in the Shadows people about a couple of Wellington cops who get put on the job to track paranormal activity. And it had a bunch of the characters from What We Do in the Shadows. It was fucking great. Wellington Paranormal was an extremely good series. So I actually have very high hopes for the What We Do in the Shadows TV series. I think it's going to be very good. Yeah, because it's got, the series has Taika Waititi, Jemaine Clement, and whatnot. So it's like the X-Files, but really, really funny. Definitely seek out Wellington Paranormal if you haven't seen it, because it's really funny. It's just these two coppers, and their sergeant, who's Maori, big Maori guy. He's a big believer in the supernatural, so he tasks two of his constables with investigating paranormal activity. And it's brilliant because they deal with vampires and zombies and werewolves and ghosts, and it's fucking hilarious. It is really, like, it's not, there are moments where, okay, that's not as good as that, but overall, Wellington Paranormal is fucking brilliant. Belinda, no, it isn't on Netflix, at least not yet. In fact, to watch it now, you probably have to do it illegally. It was on SBS Viceland in Australia. It's on New Zealand TV. You search online for how to watch it, but I actually have a suspicion if you want to watch Wellington Paranormal now, you have to do it illegally. I'm not sure. Dr. Obama, the What We Do in the Shadows is a spin-off. It's a completely different set of vampires. I'm not sure where it's set, whether it's set in, it's not set in New Zealand, because I think some of the actors are American and some are British. So I'm not sure if the TV series is set in America or London or what. I'm actually not sure where the series is set. I don't think it's set in New Zealand. I'm not sure, but it's coming out very soon. I think sometime in the next month, for What We Do in the Shadows series. So yeah. What's that, Miss Foxification? Metro 2033 movie scrapped. I don't even know what that is. That's not something I'm familiar with. Was it a Russian thing that they were trying to Americanize? Yeah. Sometimes redoing stuff for American audiences works, and very often it doesn't. That feeling with Taylor, there was a thriller horror New Zealand movie about a Maori cop who was a paranormal hunter. I don't know. Oh, it's a book made into a video game, made into a movie, attempted to be made into a movie. There you go. See, I don't know all pop culture. I know a lot of pop culture, but I don't know all pop culture. Some stuff gets by me. So that one I did not know. Okay. If you're in Australia, Shirazi says the SBS Online app will let you watch Wellington Paranormal. There you go. So what is it, Miss Fox? Remainder of the human race living in the Russian metro. Nazis, fascists, commies, different groups. Now I can see how that would be a problem in London. But in Washington, I mean, you could... Yeah, it'd be a bit of work, but you could adapt it. But it's weird when that sounds like it was clearly very, 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 very Russian. So yeah, you could have, when something's so much tied to a particular culture, trying to translate it can be a problem. Fallout by Russians. Okay, cool. Is that Good Spirits? Good video game. Oh man, yeah, there are probably a lot of good video games. I've got to be very cautious about getting into them. They'll just take up all my time. Wow, that drink was really good. So the Egg Boy Flip was very good. The Egg Boy Whiskey Flip with one whole egg in it. Yeah, you're right, Good Spirit. Hollywood does not have a good track record with turning video games into movies. They have an appalling record for that, quite honestly. So yes, I think that's reasonably good advice to say. Smash Brothers. We actually have the new Smash Brothers for the Switch. My offspring liked it. So yeah. Shirazi, yeah, I did hear they were going to make another Doom movie. I saw a bit. I've never sat through the Doom movie with The Rock in it. I've seen bits of it though. Don't really grab me. Oh God, Feeling Sheila, the Street Fighter movie. Oh my God, that was a thing. That was a thing with the muscles from Brussels and fucking Kylie Minogue in it. Wow. Yes. What was the line, Tindo? Line, when bison came to your village, it was the best day of your life. For me, it was a Tuesday. Wasn't it Raul Julia? That was actually Raul Julia's last film role, which is a bit sad, considering what an epic man Raul Julia was. Actually, Chronic, I agree with you. The first Mortal Kombat movie, I kind of liked. The Super Mario Brothers movie was really strange. That was really strange. Not the worst viewing experience ever, but very strange. Good Spirit saying the new Doom film is going straight to digital. Okay, it's not good. Ate too many mushrooms. That could be it, Mega Leech. Mr. O'Neill, I remember the thing about Raul Julia saying, yeah, it's like he got offered the role and didn't know anything about it, and his kids or grandkids said, oh, they want to make you bison. You have to do it. You have to do it. So he did it. Belinda, there are so many monkey magic movies. Like in China and Hong Kong, they haven't stopped making monkey movies. There's been at least half a dozen over the last 2 decades. I still haven't watched the TV series that was like a joint venture between Australia, New Zealand, and China. I think it is on Netflix now. But yeah. Dr. Obama, the Doom movie with The Rock, I'm pretty sure was released in cinemas. I wouldn't like swear to it, but I think it was. Chronic, I do remember there was a bit in the Doom movie with The Rock where there was a camera shot that was meant to recreate the first person view from the game, but it was like, damn. Tendo, Hardcore Henry. I do remember, what was that? I remember that. I saw that and I can't remember exactly what it was. But yes. I'm sure you watched the Nostalgia Critics review of the Super Mario Brothers movie. It was a very strange movie. Yeah, Shirazi, they should have kept the demon thing. They shouldn't have been aliens. It should have been the Hellgate. I agree. That's right. Carl Urban was in Doom. I remember that. Oh, Dr. Obama, I saw the Rampage movie with The Rock, and it was kind of funny. And for those who don't know, the very loose inspiration for Rampage was an 80s video game where you would, instead of fighting the monster, you were the giant monster who was destroying the city, and you could be a giant ape or a giant wolf or a giant lizard, and those are the monsters in the Rampage movie. It's weird. It's not great. It was kind of funny to watch. Man, that's right. Hardcore Henry was first person. Yes, and I did watch it. Yes, wasn't great. I did watch it though. Oh, Mr. 09, Dread with Carl Urban is fucking brilliant. The Dread with Stallone is terrible. But Dread with Carl Urban is absolutely amazing. I love that movie. Shirazi, blasphemy. You're saying Stallone's Judge Dredd was better than Urban's Dredd? No, really not, because I'm a big 2000 AD fan from way back. The Dredd movie was terrible. The Stallone Dredd movie was terrible. The Carl Urban one's fucking great. Good Spirit, arcade memories. I spent a lot of time in video arcades in my youth. I remember seeing a guy, like he was a kid, he was younger than me. For those who don't know, Pac-Man, the movement of the ghosts isn't random. The movement of the ghosts is programmed, and the further you get, the faster they go, but they still work to an algorithm. And in the very fastest level, when you eat the power pill that makes the ghosts vulnerable, it doesn't make them vulnerable. They only change direction for like a second to give you a bit of breathing space. And I watched, you could finish Pac-Man. I watched this kid finish it once, and I have no idea how much money he put through these machines to know all the moves, but he was just doing everything by reflex, and it was absolutely wild to watch. But yeah, I actually saw someone finish Pac-Man. You could beat Pac-Man. That was absolutely amazing. Ooh, Joust. That was a good one, Nintendo Lunchbox. Joust was a pretty wild one. There was a few games. Like there was a vector graphics Star Wars game that I really liked. Oh yeah, Feeler and Sealer Defender was pretty good. There was a quite good Star Wars vector graphic one. But yeah, we're past due a Donkey Kong movie. Because this is weird. Okay, this is old enough to know that in the original, Donkey Kong is the baddie, but of course, eventually, Donkey Kong in Nintendo World became a goodie. Oh, Good Spirit Missile Command's a good one. Featured in the original Terminator movie. Asteroids was a good one. Yeah, Safi, you had a Death Star trench in this Star Wars Ray Trace game, but you also you flew an X-wing and got to shoot TIE fighters and whatnot. Oh, and I also like the original PC. We're straying from arcade memories here, but just mentioning an X-wing fighter game, the X-wing and TIE fighter games in the 90s on PC. I really like them. And I know a friend of mine who was super aspy, who could just, he would memorize all the moves in video games really quickly. When I played X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, when my enemy fired torpedoes at me, I'd just be like desperately trying to get away from the torpedo and dropping my countermeasures like chaff and flares to get away. This friend of mine, when the enemy ships fired torpedoes at him, he would flip and fly straight at the torpedoes and shoot the torpedoes down with lasers. I had no idea how he did that. No idea how he did that. Goma-san, X-Wing vs TIE Fighter was a great game. Oh yeah, the Tron Discs of Tron arcade game was good. There were a couple of zombie games, like in the 80s and early 90s in arcades that I quite liked. There was one, I think it was called Smash TV. I really enjoyed. It was like it borrowed heavily from the TV shows. I think in was it RoboCop, where the TV show the guy kept saying, "I'll buy that for $1." You were basically in a future TV game show that was hyper violent, and all these people were trying to kill you, and you had to kill them. Smash TV, and the controllers were 2 joysticks. Smash TV was a great arcade game. I loved that. Sorry, we're all remembering Mech Warrior now. I liked the Mech Warrior games. I never really got into them. I was never that hardcore a gamer. But yeah, it's any Star Wars that came, like the first really good PC Star Wars game was Dark Forces. I fucking loved that. It was just, it was Doom, but you were shooting stormtroopers. That was so cool to me. Just it was no more sophisticated than any other video game, but it was the first one where you were shooting stormtroopers, and I loved that. Oh God, I played Dark Forces so much. No, I never really played the different Jedi ones, like Knights of the Old Republic. I never played them. We keep getting teased with the idea that they're going to do so many spin-off Star Wars movies. We are going to get like Knights of the Old Republic movies, which would be pretty cool. I've got Shadows of the Empire Nintendo 64. My Nintendo 64 still works. I still have my cartridge for Shadows of the Empire, but which I liked, but I was much more into Dark Forces on PC. Oh God, you have blind people jokes, Nintendo Lunchbox. Why don't blind people skydive? I agree, Goma-san. LucasArts made some quality games, definitely. Oh God, Nintendo Lunchbox. Why don't blind people skydive? Because it scares the crap out of the dog. Oh, dude, that is such a dad joke. That's hilarious. Feeler and Seal, yes. Remember pinball machines that cost 5 cents, not $2. There's a couple of like nerd and gamer bars in Melbourne, 3 that I can think of actually. Notably, one that's called Barcadia. and they have not just, well, they have some newer pinball machines, but they have some very old school pinball and arcade games. But they also have things set up with the different gaming consoles, classic ones like you can play Nintendo 64 games or PlayStation, as in PlayStation 1 games. It's pretty good. Savi, you're right. Republic Commando was a pretty good game. I have to admit, I liked oh god, what's the PlayStation game called? Battle. My brain's gone blank. Battle something. Battlefront. Battlefront 2 on PlayStation 2 is fucking great. And I haven't gone near the new Battlefront games because they might have good graphics, but I haven't heard anything good about I haven't heard anything good about the new Battlefront games for PlayStation. But Battlefront 2 on PlayStation 2, I fucking love that game. That was so much fun. So, yeah, it's like, of course, the new Battlefront games have great graphics and everything, but everything I read about them, they like fuck the game. EA fuck the gameplay. Good Spirit, favorite pinball machines. Old school, not that old school, like 80s or 90s pinball machines I really liked. There were a couple of really good ones. There was an Addams Family pinball machine that was fucking great. You know, it had a little bit of graphic stuff on the backboard and lots of moving stuff. But when you hit a couple of bonuses, this special feature came up on the pinball where you'd hear Gomez's voice going, "I have the power." You activated the power, and these, you couldn't see them, but they're obviously magnets under the table moving around because the ball would just go screwy all over the table. I loved that. And The Simpsons, Belinda, The Simpsons pinball machine was great. I was going to say that. Probably my two favorite pinball machines from the 80s or 90s were the Addams Family and Simpsons. They were both really good pinball machines. They had enough challenging stuff without being too complicated to play. Dr. Palmer, no, I don't own any pinball machines. It's a kind of tempting idea because I know you can get them. You can find, there are people who refurbish and service pinball machines and you can buy or hire them. It's slightly tempting now that you say that. I can almost hear Mrs. Angry saying, "You're not getting a pinball machine." Yeah. I mean, I had a friend a few years ago who made a really convincing arcade machine, and he built it as basically there was a computer in there with an emulator for about 10 classic arcade games, and he built the whole cabinet and everything, put the screen in there and there's a computer in there running it, and for all the world it felt like classic arcade games. So I know a lot of hobbyists do stuff like that. But yeah, there's a couple of good bars. There's Bartronica, which has pinball machines, arcade games, and you can play on old school consoles as well. I know there's like a tabletop gaming shop upstairs, and there's a bar downstairs, and you can play games down in the bar, and they have all gaming themed cocktails. Like you can get a mana potion and a healing potion, and you know, they very brightly colored cocktails basically. Belinda, there's one in Fortitude Valley called Netherworld. Yeah, there's that's right, Barcode in Crown. There is, I'm pretty sure there is still an arcade in Crown. I'm not sure if it's still called Barcode. Gomez says Stratco have a 2-player old school tabletop machine for $7.99. Nice. I mentioned this as well, but completely out of I don't know. I was reading this article, the history of video games, and of course, the original arcade game was Pong, just the paddles and the ball. I was reading the original Pong games. That wasn't video. That was mechanical. There were moving parts under the screen that stimulated the bits on the screen that lit them up. But I thought that was purely video, and it wasn't. The movement of the paddles and the movement of the ball on the original Pong was completely mechanical. There were all these moving parts under the screen that sort of, stimulated the pixels on the screen to do it. But I thought it was purely video, and it wasn't. It was mechanical. That absolutely weirds me out. But yeah, that's it, Miss Foxification. Galaxy Circus, I think they call it now. But yeah, when I was having a meetup with some local YouTubers, we often go to Melbourne Central, and we noticed there was this newish bar up there, and it's actually this really good bar. It's really bright lights. It's like, lit up with neon and stuff to look like a Tokyo pachinko parlor. And in one part of it, you can get cocktails and food. Another part of it is all arcade machines. So it's a pretty fun place to hang out, quite honestly. Get through money pretty quickly because the arcade games are expensive and the cocktails and food aren't exactly cheap. But we did have fun hanging out there for a couple of hours with the old YouTubers. Can't even remember what it's called, actually, but it's up the top level of Melbourne Central. But yeah, there's at least 3 gaming themed bars in the Melbourne CBD, and you have a bit of fun at them. Like I said, I mentioned the cocktail bar I like called Bar Americano. I went there with a couple of friends, and we're having a chat to the barman, and he just, and he wrote us out a little list of places that were the ones he liked, and we went, ooh, recommendations. And I took a photo of the little handwritten note because my friend Josh got it and stuffed it in his pocket, and it was going to get lost. So I said, I'm taking a picture before you lose it. Let me see if I can find it. Because I've tried out most of his recommendations. I'm sure I kept it here. What's this? God, I've kept too many. Is that it? No, that's something else. Kept too many pictures on my fucking photo roll. I can't find anything. Oh, it's here somewhere. What the hell? I'll find it one day. Dr. Obama, what content did I originally make when I first started the channel? I used to wear masks. There are a couple of my old school viewers in here. Remember when I used to wear masks? And that was for 2 reasons. One was I actually did a theatre degree, and I learned traditional mask work, commedia dell'arte, medieval Italian style of mask performance. And some of the people where I was at college did this the self-devised theatre piece where they used some traditional medieval masks, but also some just cheap plastic masks from like a party supply store. And they cut the bottom half of the mask off so you could see the real mouth. And it was weird how much that brought the mask to life. It's just a cheap plastic mask, but with the person's real mouth. And it's in our lunchbox, old school. And so one of the reasons I started making videos with these masks is because I actually had some training in it. Second is because I was worried. I work in IT in Melbourne, and it's like a small conservative gossipy thing. And I thought, if I do really weird shit on YouTube, this is like 13 years ago, it might affect my job prospects. So the masks gave me a level of anonymity, and I stuck with them for a year or two. But I've always been Angry Aussie, like Mr. Angry. And the joke was I'd get angry about things on a scale that wasn't necessarily justified. And it was like a joke that I would get angry about silly things. And I do have to admit, I just got more and more political. Oh God, Justin, 2009 is definitely old school. I think I started in 2007, 2006. I'd actually have to look it up. But I started on YouTube about a year after the platform existed. So I'm up to 12 or 13 years. Justin, 2009 is definitely old school. Chronicle of Manliness. I just saw that quote before. I loved it. Shoe throwing man walked so Egg Boy could run. I'm 100% on board with that. Sure. So yes, I was like the early Cyberman masks, definitely. But yeah, I started a series that I called the Angry News, where I would just talk about news stories. Like I'd find some wacky news story, say something about it. But then, I don't know, the world got more and more fucked. And I became more and more political as these really fucked elements started to rise up. Oh God, so that is old school. Someone told you about my YouTube channel through MSN Messenger. That is very old school. Dr. Obama, am I going to see the Chase's 2019 election live show? No, I'm going to do a live show for the election. I will definitely be doing a live show for the federal election. I'm probably getting so fucking drunk. Honestly, I reckon I'm going to have a little celebration. Everyone I fucking hate loses their seat. There's at least half a dozen people I've really got pegged as I want them to lose their seat. But I imagine I am going to get super fucking hammered on election night live. So, you know, don't miss it, because I'm going to be going to fucking town on election night, quite honestly. Mrs. Angry is worried because she's a real election night junkie, but she's also a Eurovision junkie, and she's really worried that the election's going to end up clashing with Eurovision. So we'll see. Chronic, here's the old man who got the egg on his head. He's an absolute fucking piece of shit. Yeah, his name's Fraser Anning. He is in the Senate in Australia, and he's only in the Senate because of the weird way the rules work. Like, no one knows him, no one voted for him. It's because of his party affiliation and preference votes that he got the Senate seat. And he's just racist fucking garbage. Like that horrible terrorist attack in Christchurch, he said that was all the Muslims' fault. That only happened because there were too many Muslims. He's absolutely fucking garbage. You got to say, look, I like to taunt him and call him numpty 19 votes, but the 19 votes thing is it's a little bit disingenuous. It's either ignorance of how the Senate voting works, or people being a bit disingenuous. Because he was down the ticket, so hardly, like 19 people voted for him specifically. But how it works in the Senate, when there's a ticket of people from the same party, it's like, okay, however many people vote for number one, like for argument's sake, let's say it takes 10,000 votes to get into the Senate, and a particular party has 5 people on their ticket, and that party gets 10,000, sorry, they get 25,000 votes at the election. They're a minority party. For 5 people, they get 25,000, but you need 10,000 to get in. So the first person on the ticket gets 10,000, so they're in. And then the votes go down to the next one. And so we've still got 15,000. So the next one also gets in because there's enough votes to get them in. That 10,000 people didn't specifically vote for the second person. They voted for the first person, but the votes cascaded down. And that's how Anning got in. People didn't vote for him. They voted for the party he was aligned to at the time. And so he got in. It's fucking ridiculous. Oh, yeah, and Anning was so far. What happened, this other fucking numpty who's basically as bad as Fraser Anning, Malcolm Roberts, got in, but then he fucked up his citizenship and he ended up being ruled ineligible. So the next one down the list got in, which was Fraser Anning, who is he's not a big shot influential politician. He's absolutely on the fringe, and he's only a senator because of a couple of bizarre twists of how the system works. And I think he has to stand for re-election in May, and he will be out. He will be out then. So yeah. Do you want Scummo and Shorten to sing their election speeches? That could be interesting. You never know what's going to happen. But yeah, I've never seen a fucking train wreck like our current government. Like, they're so far gone. As someone just commented, 7 ministers have said, I'm not standing at this election. And they all deny it's because we're clearly getting fucking slaughtered at this next election. But that's why they've done it. They've just looked at it and gone, I'm sick of this shit, and we are getting absolutely fucking slaughtered at the next election. I don't want to go through all the stress of an election campaign just to lose completely. Fuck it, I'm out. 7 ministers so far saying they're out at the next election. That's unprecedented. The government is going to get so fucking wiped out at the next election. Going to get smashed. Everyone's got their shortcomings. Well, I like to cheer up my American and British friends. Yes, you've got fucked up shit happening, but you're not alone. There's fucked up shit happening here too. So yeah, Justin, it isn't just 7 members of the government saying this is too much, I'm resigning. It's 7 ministers, including several of their most senior ministers, like Julie Bishop and Christopher Pyne. They've just gone, fuck it, no, we're getting slaughtered. I want nothing to do with this shit. I'm out. And this is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it. I don't believe anything on this scale has happened in Australia. I mean, obviously, I haven't been alive for the whole 100 years of Federation. So, and there's been a lot of, over the 20th century, there were a lot of bizarre twists and turns in 20th century politics. But I don't think it's, yeah. So, oh yeah, no, the Sky News people are weird as fuck. The level of denial for those outside of Australia, Sky News desperately wants to be Fox News, but nobody watches it. And they're in massive denial about how fucked the government is. And they keep saying, oh, you know what, despite the fact we've had several by-elections in the state election in Victoria that where people have unequivocally said they're rejecting the Conservative parties because they've lurched too far to the right, they're misogynist, homophobic, climate change deniers, fuck that. And Sky News goes, nah, the real problem is you haven't gone far enough to the right. There've been actual elections where the voters have specifically said, I'm rejecting the Conservative parties because they've lurched too far to the right. They're misogynist, homophobic, climate deniers. Fuck them. And and Sky News goes, no, the real problem is they haven't gone far enough to the right. It's really fucking weird. Aussie Gun Bunny, getting ready for work, buddy. What happened today? Dude, not much. Not much happened today. Still reveling in the glory that is Egg Boy, quite honestly. But yeah. Chronic, are you interested in Andrew Yang? See, this is interesting. Andrew Yang seems to have hooked in like the Reddit crowd more, For those who don't know, Andrew Yang is one of approximately 1,000 people declaring they want to run for the Democratic nomination for president in 2020. And where he stands out, he's a bit of a technocrat, and he's pushed the idea of a universal basic income. He says, like, all Americans should get $1,000 a month just as a universal basic income. And it will be interesting because this, if he doesn't disappear quickly, this will be the first time universal basic income has been a point of debate in a forum as big as the American presidential campaign. So it will be very interesting to see what happens there. Justin, I heard that in the UK, the Speaker of the House has said he wasn't going to allow May to have another Brexit vote on the same proposal. He said he would only now allow another vote if May tabled a significantly different proposal, whereas May just wants to table exactly the same proposal that was very roundly discounted. Mimsy, are you going to say goodbye to everyone before we go? Come up here. Come up to your table. Mimsy's just come in the door to say hello, but I don't know if she's going to come up and say hello. You going to come up here? Come up here. Everyone loves you. Yes, come up here. Yes. Meow. Mimsy's come in to say hello. I think Mimsy's just been in another room, but she's come in to say hello the last 5 minutes. Everyone loves Mimsy. Mimsy's more popular than me, and she knows it. She absolutely knows it. Don't you? You know that everyone loves you. You love the attention. That's why you come in, because your fan club's here. Didn't I heard that? Wasn't that there was a German? There was someone in the EU, a German or French minister, said she named her cat Brexit because it'll stand at the door and whine that it wants to go out, but then she opens the door and it just sits there and doesn't do anything. It's just like, it's become a laughing stock. It's super weird. Oh, I don't know if anyone's into podcasts, or particularly sort of radical left podcast. There's a popular sort of shit-stirring lefty podcast from the US called Chapo Trap House, which I'm not super into, but I do listen to occasionally, and I do find it somewhat engaging. And they had a bit of a go recently. Did I think I should go on Chapo? I wish I could attract the attention of the people on Chapo. Oh my God, I had a reason for bringing them up and it's actually slipped out of my brain. But they're good for deconstructing the Democrats and the different people throwing their hat in the ring for the Democratic Party. I think the favoured, and I could be wrong, someone who knows them better might correct me, I think the favoured candidate in Chapo is Bernie Sanders, because they're just full-on socialist with their thing. They're like frat boy socialists. They're a bit of fun to listen to. And they go quite hard with calling people out. They're really not concerned with who they piss off, quite honestly. Yeah, there's not many podcasts that I'm into. Yeah, Charlie, brocialists. I honestly think that fits them fairly well, that they're brochurists. There's not many podcasts I'm into. The only podcast that I'm super into is the Blind Boy podcast, Irish comedian. Goes by the name Blind Boy Boat Club. Chapo Trap House I find engaging. There's a few others I've listened to a bit, haven't got into. Dr. Obama, who do I want to be the Democratic Party candidate? That's a good one. I haven't looked that much in their policy, but I have seen some intelligent people saying if you strip away all the personality stuff and whatnot and look solely at policy, and if you want to see active left-wing politics, what's her name has been cited by quite a few people as the best candidate. Elizabeth Warren. God, my brain went totally blank. But yeah, a couple of quite intelligent people have cited, like, if you strip away all the personality stuff and any drama or whatever, and look solely at policy, and if you're into real structural change, oh, that scared Mimsy. She didn't like that noise. They've highlighted Elizabeth Warren has some of the best policies. Tendai, AOC's so young, she has to wait 2 more cycles. Shirazi, Cory Booker has some interesting points. I've also seen people dump on him in really hilarious ways. Like, basically saying Cory Booker is just part of the machine. Like, back in the day, the only reason I supported Obama over Clinton is Clinton was absolutely a creature of the party machine, and Obama looked like he might be a bit of an outsider and might shake things up. As it turned out, I think there was very little difference in the Obama presidency than what it would have been if it had been a Clinton presidency. Quite honestly, I reckon it worked out pretty much the same. Obama became very much part of the Democrat Party machine. So I do have a bit of a weak spot for candidates who look like they might shake things up. They might be outside of the party machine, but it's still early days. Like, I honestly haven't decided if one of the candidates stands out more for me than another. It's early days. We'll wait for it to go. Miss Foxification, I reckon you're understating it when you say 2020 is going to be ugly in America. I think it's going to be out of fucking control. Shazi, you may well be right. The final contenders may be Biden, Warren, and Sanders. Things change so much at this early stage, it's absolutely impossible to be sure. But that is not at all an out there prediction to say the final 3 could easily be Biden, Warren, and Sanders. I would definitely put Biden, my personal preferences, Biden last. I don't think Sanders should be running. I think Sanders should have moved aside for someone else. I would, again, I'm more than likely to change this as time goes by, but at this early stage, of those 3, I would probably go Warren, then Sanders, then Biden. Justin, Biden is, I mean, in a lot of ways, Biden's heart's in the right place, but he's absolutely the establishment. Feeler and Sealer, I think you may be right about Biden and Warren both going by the wayside, but I don't know. Ms. Fox says you're right. Bookies, betting odds. Bookies are very unemotional. Bookies are just going solely where people are. Everyone else, no matter how objective they say they are, when they're a political pundit, their emotions are in there. Bookies, the emotions go. Safa, who isn't the establishment? Nah, Beto's establishment. Why would I suggest Sanders move to the side? Justin, 2 reasons. He's too old. He's too egocentric. He's not a fucking Democrat. It's more than a little bit cheeky that he tries to ride on Democrat coattails when he's not a Democrat. I agree with a lot of his policies. I think he's extraordinarily weak on, let's call it, intersectional politics. And it's like Bernie doesn't really have policies I disagree with. I just think he's driven too much by ego, and he's shown real blindness of understanding anyone but white people. Yeah, that's why I'm not on the Bernie train. But mind you, like going back in time, I would have loved to have seen in the previous election Sanders v. Trump, because, you know, Sanders was a, you know, he was a wild card. Trump was a wild card. So a right-wing wild card populist versus a left-wing wild card populist would have been very interesting. I don't know what would have happened, but it would have been very interesting. Everything about Trump makes no sense. I've ceased to try and predict anything to do with Trump ages ago because nothing about Trump makes any sense. People ask me to evaluate a situation, my brain becomes involved. My brain does not help me when it comes to Trump. It's just so fucking strange. But so yeah, I'm definitely not making any predictions. But hey, look, it's after 10 o'clock. Let me go to bed. Thank you, one and all, for your time this evening. As always, it's been quite a pleasure spending time with you. Definitely a fun thing that I like doing. So I do hope to see you all again soon. Mimsy says good night. Good night to everyone, Mimsy. Yes, you say good night to everyone. Thank you, everyone, for dropping by. Hope to see you all again soon. I had a really good time, as I always do with you fine people. Hope you look after yourselves. I'll see you again soon, and I will say bye for now.